on today. Um, we're quite laggy right now, but who would we be without that? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and start. I'm not gonna do my usual my usual suspects with the with the fluff right now. I won't do that. So all right, so I have a few stories, a few bites, I guess, for lack of a better word. I just needed a break. I had a lot of stuff to do between the last time that I was on earlier. But thank you guys so much for coming in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run right into our usual order of business where we do our thanks to our loyal patrons, our subscribers, and of course, the viewers like you. And hello to Awesome Alice. Thank you, Awesome Alice. And thank you guys so much. We're going to run things a little bit out of order. Hi, Old School Wolf Media. How are you? And we're going to run things a little bit out of order. We're going to run things a little bit out of order. And I guess we'll just get right to it because you guys have been around with me like quite a few times today. So thank you so much. And I will be right back. I'll try not to do too many infomercials with the amount of lag happening, but I'll be right back. Sorry, I'm talking and no audio. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. There you go, Awesome Alice. Thank you so much. So just drop a one in there if you're still not hearing me at this point. So what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to give you the language that I'm going to use. I'm going to give you the characters. So the Dr. F ending with an I. I might refer to him as Dr. Fakasha or something, like Fakasha bread, or I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I think these people have kind of ramped up their AI or whatnot. I think they have ramped it up a little bit, but I think some things are happening. So that, and then of course, let's see, we're probably going to use like chastity belt or something for, that muzzle that goes over your face. So we're going to do, so if I say something is kind of bizarre, you kind of know what I'm on about. Okay. Because I don't normally do that on here, but I am going to give you a little more of a background story and give you the video from Richard Turner of BLM. And so we have that. So we're just kind of bouncing around quite a bit today. So we have about three, I guess I could say about three stories. And about 3 stories, and I have some video footage for 2, I think 2 out of the 3 of those. And I once again, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in earlier today because I was I was in rare form. And yeah, so yeah, and to the point, let me say hi to everybody. I don't want to neglect anybody that's coming in. Um Hello to Tyrants Bang TOA. Thanks so much for coming in and for all that you do to support the channel. Jermaine G. Awesome Alice. Thank you, Awesome Alice, for coming in. Um, Also, Old School Wolf Media, thank you so much for coming in. And AZ Infidel. And AZ Infidel says it was good to see me outside in that short video. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I guess I don't spend a whole lot of time outside. I mean, I don't know, probably not as much as I should. So I guess I should do a little bit more. So it sounds like you guys are a fan of me doing outdoor lives, I guess. I don't know. I mean, in the neighborhood, we have some chickens and roosters. I know I have a badger that's a badger that's just kind of, he's just thrashing the yard right now, which is pretty brown, right, and ugly anyway right now. So, but yes, if you guys are fine with some of the elements, a few dogs, kind of, I mean, I think every now and then I have a hawk that comes. He comes to visit me every now and then. And yeah, so got some animals around here, nice animals. And yeah, Chrysler Imperial H, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, awesome Alice, you're right on. Hello, Chrysler Imperial H, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. And also AZM Fidel. And let me read some comments really quickly before we start, because we're going to talk about Dr. Fakasha in just a second, and then we'll get into some developments on the mask. Yeah, and then we have a couple of interviews. So it's going to be, you'll have some intermezzo or palate cleanser style things in there today. But yeah, I was just happy to get some sun, and it was a good experience. I mean, it was a good experience. Yeah, so I guess thankfully you guys recognized me. You recognize me outside of the studio. I told you guys we don't have hair and makeup. I don't have hair and makeup around here. I do everything myself, and that's the way it is. So let me read a comment right now from Jermaine G. He says, as I was telling some folks today, too much talking about we as Black and brown people need to do. I say it's action time. What do you think? Well, I think it's overdue. I don't know. It looks like on some level, it looks like some people are there. I don't want to use this phrase waking up. I don't want to use that, but something is happening, and it didn't have anything to do with me. I don't have any street cred or whatever. I don't have any street cred. I mean, yeah, I don't have any street cred. So, whatever it takes at this point, I think the message is more like individuals. It's to me, it's more of an individual perspective, or just if you just do what you need to do. If we all just did a little bit more of what we need to do every single day, I think that's dare I say, clean your room or something like that. But if we just do a little bit more of things that we already know that we need to do, um, things get easier. Like get some sun or whatever. Get some sun. And AZ Infidel says action covers a lot of territory. Can you be more specific? Okay. And hello once again to Chrysler Imperial H. Nice to see you. I missed your video from earlier. Hi, Studi. He says animals can be better company than human beings. Well, actually, I like animals. Yeah, I like animals. I have no issue with them. I mean, I do have the coyotes. Yeah, the coyotes are gotten a little bit more brazen around here. But they have been. That's what they do. And I mean, I'm sure I will miss them. But yeah. And AZ says, and I thought you were a city girl. Well, probably not. I mean, I've lived many places, and but I mean, I have country roots. What can I say? I can speak country slang. I understand it, and I can speak it. And I don't know. I don't know. You guys might have heard something about my little story about the deer, my little deer story or whatever. I mean, like deer hunting in my family is just pretty common. I mean, I talked about that a little bit yesterday. Yeah, deer season is just it is what it is. I miss that. Dare I call them the elders or not? They're many of them have passed on, so you don't have so much of that now. But yeah, if I had my way, I'd be a much better shot, for the lack of a better word, than I am today. If I had gotten to go with them, that's what I'm saying. So, but I was denied. They denied me every time. But yeah, let me keep going here. Because I'm getting a little bit chatty, I guess. And Awesome Alice is coming to the realization things need to be done and need to be fixed, and little actions make big changes. Thank you very much, Awesome Alice. And also, you guys should check out Awesome Alice. I mean, Awesome Alice is she's taking action projects into her own hands, and I really appreciate that. It's nice to see that. Keep it up. And Awesome Alice's turkey hunting is fun also. Yeah, I've never been turkey hunting, never. Never. All right. So let me get on about today. Thank you for coming in for the Tuesday. So with that said, let me try to give you some ambiance here. All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And hello, Alex Leaping Jones. Nice to have you around. I really appreciate it. And I have Monkey Love Magic says, have I seen the National Guard mocktailed a school in North Idaho without parental? No, I haven't. And Tired's Bane is still here. How are you? All right. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and just do it. I'm going to go ahead and start with, hello, Salavi. How are you? So what I'm going to do is let's just start this off with a little bit of the elite, and I'll give you my comments on it after we're done. So we'll start with that. We'll circle back to Dr. Fakasha. I'm using that. You know who I'm talking about. We're going to go to that, and then we'll go to the story on your chastity belt that you're supposed to wear around your your face or whatnot. So we'll do that. How are you, Solavi? Is it Solavi or Solavi? Solavi? Okay, so we're gonna go over. This is gonna be we've talked about this before. I talk about this all the time. I say, it's Groundhog's Day here on Black Spring because, we're always talking about the same stuff. It seems it's always on a loop, right? So this instance, we're talking about the CRT. It looks like, it's hitting schools, I guess the school boards or whatnot. But this instance, you're going to have Mark Lamont Hill, who I think is he's either an ex-professor at Temple University, and that is versus Vernon Jones. And I think Vernon Jones is running for governor now. I have I'm a little curious about Vernon Jones because I think, I won't get into that just a second. But yeah, let's go over to that and then we'll see what you guys have to say about, the elite. And I'm saying, and I talk about, like I said, I don't mean to totally disparage them. It's just that there is an arrogance. There's a pompous air about elitism, and it's very elite. And hello, Jermaine G says it's evil what they are doing. Yes, it is very much evil, and I don't like it at all. And many people don't like it. We don't like it. We don't agree with it. And so we're going to go over here and just, Mark Lamont Hill, he's been on He's been on a couple of debates that I've seen. And let me just play it. I won't tell you guys everything. Okay? And I'll be right back. Don't worry about your comments. I will get to those ASAP. So we're going to go first to our Marc Lamont Hill. And yeah, this is explosive. But yeah, I think it's just, it's more explosive. He's the one that got, you know, he's the one that got that got singed in my mind. So I'll just be quiet and I'll get over here. All right, guys. So I'm gonna give you guys some full scale on that. I know you'd have it no other way. And by the way, apparently there's something called the Black News Network or the Black News Channel or something. I don't know. But I'll just play it. Okay, guys. And thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks so much for hanging in there with me today and my my little adventures, I guess, outside. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Schools. As a response to the murder of George Floyd and the nationwide protests it sparked, many schools across the nation have adopted diversity and inclusion trainings, as well as incorporated anti-racism pedagogy as part of the curriculum. But there has been a recent backlash in red states calling to ban critical race theory in schools. The theory is deemed as un-American, vilified as the left's hidden agenda to corrupt the nation and to instill feelings of guilt in white students. 3 days ago, Idaho governor signed a bill into law banning the theory in schools. Similar bills have recently passed the Texas and Oklahoma legislatures and are currently sitting on their governor's desks. And Tennessee is expected to pass a similar ban later this week. Kirk Cox, who is running for the governor of Virginia, tweeted on April 26th, "It's time to put a stop to the left-wing takeover of public education in Virginia." He then laid out his 7-point plan, which includes prohibit the teaching of critical race theory, eliminate its use as part of teacher evaluations, and restore race-blind, merit-based admission to Virginia's governor schools. And finally, yesterday, the gubernatorial candidate for Georgia, Vernon Jones, tweeted, and I quote, "On day one, through executive order, I will immediately instruct the Georgia Department of Education to prohibit the teaching of critical race theory within our public schools. It's time for our schools to stop teaching our kids to hate America." The man behind that tweet, Vernon Jones, he is here with me right now on Black News Tonight to have a wonderful conversation. Brother Jones, so good to see you. I want to start off, and we have plenty of time, so I want to make sure we flesh all this out. I have just a couple of questions, just clarifying questions, so I understand where you stand. You want to completely ban critical race theory in Georgia public schools. Is that accurate?
That is accurate because of the contents of it. I think that it clearly needs to be reevaluated. What it is doing is just creating an environment that is hostile towards one race or another. And I don't think we should be in that posture. I think there's a way that we can strike a balance where no child is feeling like, hey, because of my race, I'm paying for something I had nothing to do with. So that's all. I just think it needs to be redone, revamped, and amended.
Okay. What is critical race theory?
Well, actually, I think it's different depending on who's teaching it and how they're teaching it. I think you can agree with that. We were taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Well, you and I both know that Christopher Columbus got lost. People are already living here. But there are those who are using their own ideology and their own party affiliation to go to the extreme. And that's all I'm trying to address here.
But what does that have to do with critical race theory? Let me pause for 1 second. I'm trying to understand, though. You oppose critical race theory, which I understand. I'm just asking, what is it? What is the thing you define it? Like, for example, if I said I'm against creationism, I would say creationism is X, Y, and Z, right? If I said I was against the teaching of sex education, I say, well, sex education is X, Y, and Z, and I'd have a basis for it. What is critical race theory?
Well, first of all, again, I can tell you, but it's left up to you to understand. I can't make you understand. Fact of it is, the critical race theory, even on its basis, should not be taught in our schools, period. Now, if you can't understand,
but what is it?
If you want to debate, well, to me, what it does, to me, my interpretation, as well as many others.
No, not what it does. What is it? How do you define it? I mean, I just asked you to define critical race theory because my audience may not know.
Well,
say it again.
Obviously, you don't know, and you haven't. I said, obviously, you don't know, and you haven't told your audience. But again, how I see it, and how
I don't know.
Received. Well, then what is it then? No, what is it then? Okay,
Well,
wait,
I'm happy
you
to
tell
answer
me.
that for you, but you're
Well, answer
you're
it for me.
saying
And just answer it.
you-
I'll tell you what,
I,
just
I
answer it
will.
for me.
I
Let's not get
absolutely.
into debate. Okay, I'm waiting for you to answer. Go ahead and answer.
I will. But just
No,
hold on
just
one
answer.
second.
Just answer.
You're saying that on day one,
Answer the question
on day
first.
one,
No,
you're,
answer the question first.
or-
You answer the first question.
I promise I'll answer your
I'll
question.
wait till you answer. Well, I want you to answer before you move on.
That's fine. But
What is it? You can't tell your audience what it is.
I think
If you can't tell your audience what it
sir,
is.
I'm going to answer.
Is that what you're saying,
All right,
sir?
in order
you tell me you can't tell your audience.
In order for us to
critical
have a
race theory
conversation,
is.
we can't talk over each other, brother. I'm happy to answer your
Okay.
question, but I want to finish my question on my show. So what I'm saying is, on day one, you've made a statement that on day one, you're going to have an executive order to ban something, and you have yet to define what the thing is you're going to ban. I'm happy to answer it. I happen to have expertise in this area, but I would think because you are going to make you're going to make as an executive order a ban of something, I would think that you would have a definition of it. You've told me what it does. You've mentioned Christopher Columbus, which has nothing to do with critical race theory. Critical race theory. You asked me to answer your question. There's plenty of time. We can go 3 segments. We got all night, so we'll have all the time in the world, brother. But I do want to answer.
I didn't ask you for an editorial. I asked you to answer, and you went through editorial. And let me say this. First of all, I'm on your show.
So critical race theory.
I didn't ask to be on your show. Let's be clear. Now, I'll let you talk. Now, allow me to talk. You dial into me and ask me to come on your show. Is that not correct? So don't pull that card that this is your show, because I got drafted. I didn't try for your team. You asked me to come on your show, so let's be clear about it. Effectively, you have not answered what is the critical race theory, because no matter what I said, I told you I was banning it. That's it. Now you tell me what it is. Tell me, since you're the expert.
Sure.
Because you these so-called experts. Did you write it? Did you write it? Did you write it? You're the expert. Did you write it?
Okay. So
what makes you expert? What makes you an expert?
What makes me an expert is that for the last 15 years, I've been a trained scholar with an Ivy League PhD who has written and studied race. What makes me an expert is that I have lectured widely around the world on critical race theory.
PhDs come a dime a dozen.
So
because you have a PhD, you're an expert. But what county?
No, I don't actually. Actually, a PhD does make you an expert.
Actually, don't pull that PhD.
Actually, sir,
what it says is that you walk around like you got a PhD, but you know what? You're just as dumb as two left shoes because you're a PhD.
Whoa. We're not
academic.
Hold on, sir. Here's what we're not going to do. Here's what y'all got to mute his mic. Y'all got to mute his mic. Y'all got to mute his mic. This is what I'm saying. If you talk over me, we're not going to name call on the show. I have not name called you, sir. You have come on the show. You're a Black Republican. I have not called you a name. I've not called you Uncle Tom. I've not called you a handkerchief head. I've not called you a Sambo. I've not called you a shine. I've not called you a ham bone. I haven't done any of that. So you're not going to come on my show and call me dumb. What I will tell you is that critical race theory is a theory that actually emerged out of critical legal studies. It is a theory that makes an attempt to understand the law through the lens of race, and it's founded on some fundamental presumptions. One is the intractability of race and racism, meaning it's an intractable problem in America, and that we have to use the lens of race to make sense of things. It also is based on the use of counter stories. Listening to as Derek Bell, the critical race scholar, said, the voice is at the bottom of the well to make sense of the world and to make sense of the law. These are two big theories, two big pillars of it. And so what we want to do, if you want to ban it, you have to explain to me why. But the problem is all these Republicans, all of these scholars, all of these Republicans, all of these non-scholars, they say, I'm going to ban critical race theory, and they can't answer it. And then he says, well, if you can't answer it, then you must not know what it is. It's on something like he who smelt it dealt it kind of logic. The fact of the matter is he can't define it because he don't know what it is. They look for things to ban to signal to white people, hey, I got your back. They ban things that aren't even an issue. There is no public school teacher in America who is attempting to put critical race theory in schools. Critical race theory isn't even taught in high school. It's not even really taught in college. It is taught in law school, and it is increasingly been taught in graduate school, because it is a set of theories and understandings to make sense of our lived realities through the law and through everyday life. Those are the things we should be talking about. So if you want to be a Black Republican, your first day in office as governor, which you ain't going to be because you ain't going to beat Stacey Abrams as a Black Republican, you only in the line because the line is short. But if you want to do this, your first thing, not to ban bullying, not to try and do something against the violence of LGBT students, not to do something about the gap in resources. Instead, you're going to ban a theory that nobody's trying to bring in the first place. That is a smoke signal to white America and really to white racists.
All right. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys so much for coming in. So here it is, Groundhog's Day again. Groundhog's Day themes. Just rebrand Groundhog's Day a little bit. But I just write off. He taught. It's to me, all of this to me is just a rebranding of cultural Marxism from the 1960s, which I've talked about before in terms of the Frankfurt School. They wanted to bring in. They basically infiltrated the sociology departments, the major ones across the United States from Germany. And they brought in they could not believe that Americans were actually, not miserable. They could not believe people in America were not miserable because they basically were fellows out of Germany, and their attempts there had failed. With Marxism. So they ended up here, and they ended up basically running the roost and setting the standards for a lot of these sociology departments. So that's where you get a lot of your isms. You had your studies, your Chicano studies, your women's studies. All of these studies came around, were introduced from those schools. So when they talk and liberation theory, of course they had something for blacks. Totally. All these theories and isms came about from, in my assertion, from the 60s. Now, this is there's historical context for what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is here, this is just another liberation theory in my mind. It's just another liberation theory, but I don't know who they're actually liberating, because if you're standing up, if you're trying to do things for the greater good, why are you turning around and using the same thing that you fight against somebody else? Why would you, if racism and supremacy is so bad, then why would you be the host? Why would you be the host for somebody else? Why would you host that for the next generation? And then it's bizarre land. But then this guy, Marc Lamont Hill, he comes up, he's doing exactly what it seems like they tend to do. If you don't, big bow to them and, ho, 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 I'm so not worthy. I'm not even worthy right now. I'm an expert. You tell me what it is. And it just basically, he started projecting, he talks about, oh, well, I didn't call you. So he comes out with all the racial epithets that he would call him if he could. Oh, you're calling me dumb as two left shoes, but I'm gonna call. I didn't call you a Sambo and da 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 da. I'm just saying everything that he wanted to say, he ended up getting it out, because when you do these interviews, they always set a trap for you. They're not going to get to the issue, and I think he gave a hodgepodge answer on what it is. I still don't know what they claim it is, but it's a theory. It's a theory is what I'm on about. And then as soon as Vernon Jones starts to dig in, he's his brother. And that, to me, that's the gut check. I'm going to gut check you on a racial basis right now. Let me remind you. Let me put you back in your place, and let me remind you, brother. So I mean, this stuff is, you see it all the time. But I don't think Marc Lamont Hill, he needs to get his argument together, and they need to come up with, I'm like, okay, you're supposed to be explaining this in front of people that are watching your show, but instead it looks like you're trying to write a term paper on the spot. You start giving these anecdotals and claiming things are pillars, but it's not even rooted. Like, do you have any empirical data for any of this stuff? You can't just pull stuff out of your hat and say, oh, here it is. And you're demonizing people, and you're just basically just rebranding, Marxism and calling it and trying to put it into the schools. I mean, that is not, the education needs a lot of things, but that's not it. And that's the point in which I don't care for the response from Vernon Jones. We talked, it needs to be reworked. Or reworked how? If you guys want to teach character education, teach character education. Character education, there's some golden rules. Teach the golden rules. and maybe incentivize the golden rule. But what is CRT doesn't need to be reworked. Reworked how? You can't even get a definition. It's like it's another one of these boogeymen and all of these word mills that they come up with, and it's exhausting. And then of course the elite point of it, he says, "Oh, I'm an expert. I have an Ivy League PhD." And I think Jones totally nailed him and said, "Okay, where's your experience? You know, where's your classroom? Where's your experience amongst the American public, or the American public schools, or the charter schools, or the private schools? What have you done with all of these, letters behind your name? Do you have any practical experience?" And that's why I'm talking about, collecting degrees and just staying behind a desk and lecturing to people. That's the personalities that you deal with. And I mean, I've taught adjunct, but I was never, praying out or acting out on my students like that. And I actually taught from the book that the committee actually, that they agreed on. I mean, I just tried to keep my class as objective as I could. I mean, I can give some subjective commentary, but I figure if they need more, they need to have something to read. And then, of course, I can reference some other books, cross-reference some other books, but it's never going to be me just giving you secondhand. I would be the secondhand source if all I'm ever teaching is my interpretation or my perception of what, of part writing, or even, the Renaissance period, whatever it is. I wouldn't do it. That wasn't my way of doing it. But you have these seasoned people with tons of, letters behind their name, and to me, they'll be as obscure and as subjective as they want to be, because you don't have the knowledge base or the experience to inform you. They've got the upper hand all the time. So you're just kind of at their mercy. So I don't know. College is, that's what you deal with. Yeah, and it's just such a woke situation. It's a distracting situation right about now. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. He's talking about all of his degrees, and I'm surprised you're not wearing them around. You're not walking around with that stuff on your forehead. I mean, some of the most miserable people that I've ever met have had like tons of degrees, tons. And yeah, you can't tell them anything. Nope. They don't want to hear it. They don't even want to answer your question. I mean, and I even had a woke professor, and then she wanted to have some 12-hour conversation about some performance or some audition or something that I was interested in. And she was just, she just kept mocking and just kind of talking at me. And I'm like, this is not the place for what you're doing right now. If you want to disprove something that I'm saying, why don't you go look it up? But you're arguing with me about what I say that exists, and you haven't even looked it up. So just because you're the professor, you've been here for 100 years, that doesn't mean you know everything. You know a lot about a lot of things, as I say, but you don't know everything. There's no way. So this was actually, she was talking about something that was pertaining to, they had it entitled, it was something out of Chicago entitled for African Americans, auditions. And so she was, trying to tell me that there's no way that they had that kind of opportunity for that particular, for my instrument or for instruments in the class of woodwind instruments. And I'm just like, okay, well, go look at it for yourself, but I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth with you. You're supposed to be the professor, so you should have enough emotional stability and fortitude to just say, oh, well, I respect you a lot more if you just say, okay, well, I haven't heard of that. I'll look into that, but thank you for sharing. But no, she starts spazzing out and just totally unprofessional. So I'm just saying, you can expect that. You can expect the Mark Lamont Hills and many of these people that just, their degrees are just, I mean, who would he be without that? Who would they be? Yeah, who would they be? But yeah, it's another community, and they want you to like worship them. In my mind, they want you to idolize them for 2 semesters, 3 semesters, however it is. But I'm going to move on. I keep going here. Okay. We're going to keep going. I'm going to read a comment here from Alex Bleeping Jones. He says, our universities are cesspools. Joseph Francis Burden says, I read Ibram X. Kendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist. I should review it. No theories or arguments or reasoning, just assertions by fiat. And well-meaning people swallow it whole. Yeah. I'm sure. But I'm going to keep going here. And also, I'm going to read this one. Joseph Francis Burton says, I know a lot of PhDs. Most I know hate flaunting their titles. The ones who do, who insist on being called doctor, for instance, are just horrible people. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't justify, to get a doctoral degree. Not me. No, I just, and I wouldn't want people referring to me that, like, in the streets. just use another name. Not the DR, not that. But, some people actually, that's their whole, it's all encompassing for them. And they don't know how to turn that off. They don't know how to, it's like their whole world just kind of falls apart. All right. So I'm going to keep going here. We have another, you guys can't wait to get to the next one. So we're going to go to the Dr. Fakasha. You guys can chat amongst yourselves and figure out who I'm talking about on that. So we're going to go to, it's coming from the American Thinker. And let's see, I'll give you the full scale on this because it looks like something's brewing right now. Okay, hang on a second here. We'll stop that one. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen with you. And then we'll take on BLM next. All right, so I'll give you the full screen here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And I've already burned like 38 minutes. 38 minutes here. Okay. All right, so. Okay. So here you have, this is from the American Thinker, and this is written by, or at least the pen name is Peter Barry Chalka. All right, according to this is entitled, for Dr. Fakasha will be gone in 90 days, okay? According to this, a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks that may result in the retirement of Dr. Fakasha. The face of the government's CV-19 response may have finally met his Waterloo. The way things are going, a forced retirement at age 80 may be the best outcome that, quote, Dr. Doom can expect. Dr. Doom is something else too, but I'll keep going. It turns out that all roads lead to the CV-19, even more than we expected, led back to Fakasha. Finally, after a year of stonewalling and obfuscation, the news about Fakasha's apparent role in directing U.S. government funding to the notorious Wuhan virology lab and the identification of that facility as the source of the world CV-19 pandemic has gone incredibly mainstream. Previously, reporting and analysis on these issues had been the province of political outliers like Stephen K. Bannon and guest on his 6-day-a-week War Room Pandemic internet program, which is now getting renewed attention. As I reported here in, quote, Dr. Fakasha's finally unbelted, in quote, on May 17th, the cat was coming out of the bag and, quote, inevitably the truth will come out, end quote. But I could not have imagined how quickly the tide against Fakasha would turn. Okay, it sounds ridiculous, I know. The new bottom line was articulated by Dr. Peter Navarro, who was a top assistant to President Trump during POTUS 45's entire 4 years in the White House since last fall. Navarro has been indefatigable, what a word, in his probing of last November's election and the equally monstrous cover-ups, psyops surrounding the CV-19 pandemic they have here. Last week, speaking on an episode of Bannon's War Room Pandemic, where he is a frequent guest, Navarro said out loud, quote, Fakasha will be gone in 90 days, end quote. This prediction seems like less of a pipe dream every day as the mainstream media does a 180-degree turn on their previous disinterest in the stories of the CV-19's origin and Fakasha's possible role in it, not only in failing miserably to control the virus, but in being an accomplice to its creation in the first place. A sign of the sea change was reflected in a New York Times page one headline on May 27th, quote, Biden orders intelligence inquiry into origins of the virus, end quote. It's obvious that this order was not a result of effective common sense leadership, rather because of mounting political and media pressure to do something. The same day, May 27th, the Times sent an email to tens of millions of people on its list titled, quote, the lab leak theory is everywhere. We have an explainer, end quote. 2 days earlier, the Washington Post published a lengthy article titled, quote, Timeline, How the Wuhu Lab Leak Theory Suddenly Became Credible, end quote. This was a de facto mea culpa for the paper's previous pathetic and politically driven coverage without calling it an apology. It omitted mention of many sources, including Stephen Bannon and Red China refugees whistleblower Dr. Li Mingyang. It did take note of a scientific paper posted on February 6, 2020 by Vitao Zhao, a molecular biomechanics researcher at South China University of Technology. The title of Chao's paper was, quote, the possible origins of the 2019 CV. It states that, quote, the killer CV probably originated from a laboratory in Wuhan. Leading the charge to bring these developments to the mainstream, building on the reporting and analysis of many others during the past year, has been Fox News. Last week, for example, Fox featured a variety of reports about Wuhan Virology Lab being the source of the CV-19 on multiple programs, not only opinion shows, but on hard news programs. For a number of days continuing to the present time, it seemed like every Fox News program was featuring reports on these subjects, often as the lead stories. This reporting was accompanied by accounts that Fakasha allegedly directed at least $600,000 in National Institutes of Health research funds to the Wuhu lab, where evidence suggests the funds may have been employed to support gain-of-function research. Gain-of-function is the label put on the controversial work that some scientists do to enhance and weaponize natural animal viruses, making them deadly to humans. During the period between 2014 and 2017, when Fakasha allegedly engineered this funding through a third party, gain-of-function research was banned in the United States by order of the Obama administration. The day before the reports that Biden administration had started an investigation into the CV-19 source, it was reported by CNN, of all places, that the same administration had shut down an investigation started by the State Department in the closing days of the Trump administration to determine the source of the CV-19. President Joe Biden's team shut down a closely held State Department effort launched late in Trump's administration to prove the CV originated in a Chinese lab over concerns about the quality of its work, according to 3 sources familiar with the decision. The existence of the State Department inquiry and its termination this spring by the Biden administration, neither of which has been previously reported, comes to light amid renewed interest in whether the virus could have leaked out of the Wuhu lab with links to the Chinese military. The Biden administration is also facing scrutiny of its own efforts to determine if the Chinese government was responsible for the virus. Those involved in the previously undisclosed inquiry, which was launched last fall by allies of then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, say it was an honest effort to probe what many initially dismissed, that China's biological weapons program could have had a greater role in the pandemic's origin in Wuhan, according to 2 additional sources. So this is kind of wordy here. But here again, it's kind of Groundhog's Day. Because I think we've all been following at least some link, or we had a lead on it, long ago. But nobody, what do we say about those conspiracy theorists around here? You're looking pretty prophetic, right? More and more all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this link in the actual stream. So we'll see what happens with this. I'm not sure if anything's going to happen, quite honestly. And oh yeah, thanks so much, Joseph Francis Burton. So what? I'm going to keep going here because I hate to stop in the middle of these things, but this thing is pretty dense. It's so dense. Okay, so indeed, on May 27th and May 28th, David Asher, the former lead investigator on the federal government's CV-19 origins probe that was started under President Trump but shut down by the Biden administration, was interviewed on Fox News. Asher defended the research, and according to Fox News, the former State Department official David Asher said Friday the CV was, quote, optimized for transmission between humans, end quote, in a way no bat-borne CV ever had been, leading him to believe an animal-based origin of the disease was almost impossible. In March, former Centers for Disease Control and Prevention director during the Trump administration, Robert Redfield, said that he believed the virus most likely escaped from a lab. All of this circles back to Dr. Fakasha. It has recently been reported and confirmed that the NIAID, which he leads, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, has granted at least $600,000 and maybe several $1 million, according to Senator Rand Paul, to the communist Chinese scientist at the Wuhan lab for virus research. The first question is, why is our National Institute doing this? Now, I don't know if I played that on here, but that was, it was a pretty good performance. But like I said, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It looks even worse than two reports that started in 2014. That Fakasha used his position to circumvent the prohibition of gain-of-function research by funneling NIH funds to communist Chinese researchers at the Wuhan lab via a third party. This is the stuff of Tom Clancy's spy novel, but it's happening here right now. By the way, a lot of other research funded by the NIH and Fakasha's NIAID in particular is extremely questionable. Last month, for example, David Daleiden, the founder of the pro-life activist Center for Medical Progress, said on Fox News that Fakasha should testify before Congress about the nearly $500,000 grant his agency awarded to the University of Pittsburgh to conduct research using aborted babies' scalps grafted onto lab rats. Yeah, I saw that on, I don't know if you guys saw that clip on, was it Tucker? It was Tucker Carlson's show. So yeah, that was pretty staggering. It was, just, the visual of that is pretty, see, it makes it 10 times more difficult to get through. AZ Infidel says, lol, the number of code words we have to use now cracks me. Okay, I'll try to get this done here. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. So I'm going to keep going here. We're almost done with this one. The Christian Post quoted Daleiden at the University of Pittsburgh. They were doing a study where they were taking the scalps of 5-month-old aborted babies, and they were grafting them onto lab rats and lab mice to see how much longer they could keep them growing for. You can actually see the photographs in the published study of little baby scalps grafted onto the backs of lab rats growing little baby hairs. This study was funded by multiple grants from the NIAID office, which is run by Dr. Fakasha. Fakasha, Daleiden contended, owns, quote, every bit of this study, end quote. On May 26th, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana had the opportunity to question Fakasha at the U.S. Senate hearing on the CV-19. Fakasha again denied under oath that his agency ever funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. But when Senator Kennedy pressed Fakasha, there was an interesting admission. According to this, Senator John Kennedy, quote, Dr. Fauci, I believe you have testified that you didn't give any money to the Wuhan lab to conduct gain-of-function research. Is that right? Dr. Fauci, quote, that is correct, end quote. Kennedy, how do you know they didn't lie to you and use the money for GOF research anyway? Fauci says, quote, well, we've seen the results of the experiments that were done and they were published, and that the viruses that they studied are on public databases now. So none of that was gain of function. So Kennedy says, quote, how do you know they didn't do the research, that they didn't do the research, not put it on their website? Fauci says, quote, there's no way of guaranteeing that, emphasis added. But in our experience with grantees, including Chinese grantees, which we have had interaction with for a very long time, a very long period of time, they were very competent and trustworthy scientists. I just love how you trust, how they are trustworthy, you know. Okay. Never mind. As a result of this and other statements, Tucker Carlson last week called Fakasha a, quote, liar, end quote. Senator Paul has also called Fakasha a liar. Taking his analysis of Fakasha even further, Carlson added, quote, Fakasha, in fact, has known from the beginning that the virus may well have come from the lab. Many people have known that, but Fakasha lied about it for more than a year, end quote. On May 10th, Carlson asked in his opening monologue, quote, you know, Fakasha let the CV pandemic happen. Why isn't there a criminal investigation? The coverage on Fox News and in the mainstream media has encouraged a number of Republicans to finally grow some backbone and target Fakasha for questioning. It was reported on Tuesday, May 25th, for example, Republican lawmakers are demanding Dr. Fakasha be terminated from his role as the nation's top infectious disease expert after he was accused of flip-flopping on key CV-related topics like chastity belt wearing and the origins of the CV. House Representative Warren Davidson, a Republican from Ohio, on Tuesday, May 25th, proposed the, quote, FIRED Act, end quote, whose acronym stands for Fakasha Incompetence Requires Early Dismissal. Appearing on Steve Bannon's War Room Pandemic, Navarro and Bannon both recall that in January 2020, they knew the virus came from the Wuhan lab. They noted that the, quote, bat lady, end quote, the nickname for the Shi Zhangli, the director of the Wuhan lab, thanked Fakasha publicly for his support for the lab's controversial research. But all last year, with the connivance of the media, Fauci was positioned as a hero. More accurately, Navarro said, quote, this man is a sociopath, end quote. There were indications from Fakasha's earlier role and actions as NIAID director of how he would act during the CV-19 pandemic, intended to be the crowning achievement of his 5-decade-long career in the government bureaucracy. And that's some of what I reported in my first article on Fakasha and the CV over 14 months ago on March 21st, 2020 at American Thinker. I'd been reporting on Fakasha since 1985 and his role in the HIV/AIDS, and he didn't fool me for a minute. Meanwhile, the medical press in this country, including in their decades-long hysterical reporting on HIV/AIDS, has been corrupt even longer than the entire mainstream media. Fakasha's questionable direction of the war on AIDS has never been adequately examined by the Fourth Estate, except in a handful of independent reports and books. Basically, Fakasha and his colleagues rewrote the book of science when they contended that AIDS was the result of a virus, HIV. Over time, they changed their stories repeatedly. Sound familiar? In the late 1980s, the powers that be were crying wolf and predicted that up to 1/4 of Americans could be expected to die from AIDS. The real death toll over 4 decades turned out to be around 0.5% of what was predicted. Based on the grossly exaggerated estimates, Fakasha and his colleagues wanted to test everyone on the planet for HIV and to prescribe expensive and toxic prophylactic drugs if an individual tested positive for HIV and not AIDS itself. These insane ideas could not gain traction, however. That didn't stop Fakasha at all from spending hundreds of billions of tax dollars on a useless search for AIDS vaccine that has never been developed. Meanwhile, the cause of AIDS has been known since day one, so-called unsafe sex as practiced primarily by, this is really getting, I don't have enough codes for all of this. Okay, so I'm going to hop down to the last section here. I'll leave out the last. It's, they're talking about unsterile needles and illicit or illegal drugs here, injections. Fakasha and his colleagues also presided over the creation of a monstrous government-influenced and government-run medical establishment. Thanks to the CV-19, the behemoth bureaucracy is now in the driver's seat for most aspects of our lives. The final dream come true for control freaks like Fakasha. Meanwhile, this news that China's military discussed weaponizing CVs, which I first reported on 15 days ago at The American Thinker, has yet to make it to the mainstream, but it can't lie dormant for much longer. So it's like everybody's chiming in. The Australian, a leading national circulated paper there, published an article on May 7th, headline, quote, "The virus warfare in China military documents," end quote. The Chinese military scientists discussed the weaponization of SARS-CoV 5 years before the CV-19 pandemic, outlining their ideas in a document that predicted a third world war would be fought with biological weapons. In its article, quote, "New era may be upon us," end quote, the Daily Telegraph, another leading Australian newspaper, reported, "Forget the prospect of war with China. We may already be at war, but simply fail to recognize the weaponry." All right. So there's your creds and there's your lengthy worry article. Holy smokes. Okay. So that's that. So if you see any of that, if you hear anything on that, it's probably, to me, it's a developing story. So we'll see what happens there. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And I'm going to take a mini little break here, and then we'll come back and finish up with our story from Rashard Turner's, his experience and his, resignation, from BLM, out of St. Paul. All right, guys. And Monkey Love Magic says blessings and out. I'm out. Okay, good night. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. All right. I will be right back. Hey guys, it's Black Spring with Autumn here. And if you'd like to help us out with our AI and dissemination of the stream campaign, please hit that like, unlike, dare to throw caution to the wind by sharing, or just making sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. And I want to thank you for your ultimate and baseline level support here on Black Spring with Autumn. And we'll be right back right after this. All right, guys. All right, guys, thanks so much. We're going to go ahead and go to our final segment on this stream. I know this is a bit heavy. It's a bit heavy for this hour, but we are going to get in and out on that one. So we're going to cross-reference a story that I talked about earlier in reference to a local chapter of BLM as a presiding person stepping down from that position. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Hope you guys are doing well. And I do have a bit of an interview for you to share with you on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. I'll share the screen on this, and then we'll do the interview, and then we'll be out of here. Okay. All right. So what you have before you right now is the New York Post. According to this, the BLM leader says he quit after learning, quote, ugly truths about the group's priorities. Okay, so we're going to go into that. So actually, they've got it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and play. This is Rashard Turner, the Minnesota Parent Union. Now he's a part of the Minnesota Parent Union. So I'm going to go ahead and dial this back and play this one for you guys. Okay. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to give you the full screen here. And yeah. Okay.
I was born in Minneapolis in 1985. We called the North Side home at that time, 18th and Queen. When I was 2 years old, my father was shot and killed. My mother wasn't able to take care of me, so I was raised by my grandparents. They told me that if I was going to change my life for the better, education was the answer. So I worked hard in school. I got into Hamline University and earned a college degree, first in my family. Then I went on to earn a master's in education from St. Mary's University of Minnesota. I am living proof that no matter your start in life, quality education is a pathway to success. I want the same success for our children in our communities. That's why in 2015, I was a founder of Black Lives Matter in St. Paul. I believe the organization stood for exactly what the name implies. Black lives do matter. However, after a year on the inside, I learned they had little concern for rebuilding Black families, and they cared even less about improving the quality of education for students in Minneapolis. That was made clear when they publicly denounced charter schools alongside the teachers union. I was an insider in Black Lives Matter, and I learned the ugly truth. The moratorium on charter schools does not support rebuilding the Black family, but it does create barriers to a better education for Black children. I resigned from Black Lives Matter after a year and a half, but I didn't quit working to improve Black lives and access to a great education. Today, I serve as the president and executive director of Minnesota Parent Union. We're dedicated to helping parents move their children from failing schools to successful schools. It's hard work, and we're up against forces that don't want us to succeed. But success is possible. Just look at me and the hundreds of children and families we've helped to pursue a great education, break the chains of poverty, and lead a life of success.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, so there's Rashard Brooks. Okay. So, he gave his entire resume at the beginning of that, which was quite a bit. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that he should not be proud of his accomplishments, but to me, this is how we all kind of get sucked in. We kind of get sucked into, these institutions and what they want, what they think you should believe in, and that is the absolute pinnacle of your existence. That's the apex of your existence, is if you do that. And once you do that, then you've conquered the mountain or whatever. So I'm going to finish up here with we'll just get a little bit of the more background story here. I talked a little bit about it earlier today, but he did quote already that in 2015, he was the founder there. And at BLM in St. Paul, he was the president and executive director of the Minnesota Parent Union. He said that in that YouTube video. So he's basically describing on some level being duped. And I said that earlier, but I don't know how much for how long, you would think if you've got all these pieces of paper and all these letters behind your name, you should, be able to, you should have a little bit more discernment, right? I mean, but you got quite a bit here. It says, quote, I was an insider in BLM and I learned the ugly truth, moratorium on the charter schools. He got into that and he says he resigned from BLM after a year and a half, but he didn't quit working to improve Black lives and access to greater education, he said. All right, so I think we got most of what he was on about, but I'm just wondering if there's something that's going to come out or there's some type of suit that's pending. Yeah, and then like, why now? Like, why now? Everybody's running for the hills. They're trying to distance themselves from this organization. If you believe in it, it just seems like it's just a little bit ironic. Everybody's running at the same time, and they were all well-intentioned, right? It doesn't matter that people, got hurt, they lost their lives, and why not? I mean, why didn't you expose this earlier? Maybe you would have saved people from some of the destruction that happened in the communities. And look at Minneapolis now. It's turning into it's a utopian nightmare. You've got the Free State of Floyd, and you've got, they worked hard to defund the police. And I just, and then the council members there actually ended up using the funds to get themselves private security. And Salavi says something big is coming, I think. Well, I would say I think you're right on. I think you're right on the dime with that, because everybody's running for the hills. Oh, once upon a time, I was a part of this, and I was also this. So, because I'm just thinking, but why mention? It's almost like, okay, it's one, if you're saying that you left BLM in that position, then why do you follow it up with you're part of the parents association or whatnot? Why is that? To me, I just think that that's just extra fluff, in case you don't remember, why add that? Why give everybody your resume as if BLM was just some other organization, as if BLM was as common or as traditional as a PTO or a parents association for education or for the promotion of education. It's not the same. It's still not the same thing. So so Lavi, I see what you're on about. Okay, so so there's really nothing. I guess I kind of got into that a little bit earlier today, but it's certainly something I'll follow it up. But it's like everybody's trying to clean up, trying to do damage control, but it's too much damage that has been done at this point. With all the foot soldiers and the people that were out in the trenches marching around, and all the damage. All the damage and all the businesses. There were Black businesses that were damaged in Minneapolis. So I don't know. I don't know how they think that they can just get, plead insanity or whatever and say, oh, I had nothing to do with it. Oh, I couldn't see any of this coming. Oh, I'm out. Hi, it's the rapper 10,000. How are you? She says, heard about the pedo stuff they were pushing on kids during Pride Month. I've seen some bizarre stuff. Yes, AZ Infidel, right on. But rapper, no, I haven't. I've seen a few crazy things online, but I've seen a few crazy things online. But I don't know. But even the Biden administration, it looks like I almost stumbled onto something today about they're recognizing that. This administration is evil. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. That's just I can't dress it up. They're just evil. Their whole agenda is Agenda 2021, and it's evil. It's absolutely evil. And so, and like I said, they're going to use the Civil Rights Act, I don't know, of 64 to justify all the evil that they're going to unleash. I mean, it started in 2008 or 12. It started before, but now they're just trying to deliver. They're packing a blow because it just seems like it's all piled on right now, quite a bit. So we'll take a quick little break. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I appreciate you guys for being around today. It's been a long day here at Black Spring with Autumn, and I appreciate you guys taking a break with me throughout the day and joining me for a different, dare I say, different kind of a live stream earlier. So I'll do a little break here, and we'll be right back. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, or music, please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Marcy T., Joseph Francis Burton, Paralysis by Analysis, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back right after this. All right, guys, just one more and we'll be right back. Hey guys, it's Black Spring with Autumn here. And if you'd like to help us out with our AI and dissemination of the stream campaign, please hit that like, unlike, dare to throw caution to the wind by sharing, or just making sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. And I want to thank you for your ultimate and baseline level support here on Black Spring with Autumn. And we'll be right back right after this. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn and to our Tuesday segment. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I just want to say hello and salute everybody in the stream, and thank you guys so much for being around today. And thank you for your support, even in different spaces. You guys are always supportive. Okay, so I'll just start at the top. And well, okay. So I had originally we had Tyrant Spain TDOA. Thank you so much for coming in and for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Jermaine G. And also I'm checking out your channel, Jermaine G. By the way, I started earlier, so not to worry. Awesome Alice. Thank you so much for coming on. And Old School Wolf Media. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. AZ Infidel. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It looks like we're a little bit laggy again. Laggy to the end. And let's see, I'm trying to scroll through here. See, maybe I should do it another way. The Rapper 10,000, thank you so much for coming in. Monkey Love Magic, thank you so much for coming in. And also Joseph Francis Burden, thank you for coming in and supporting the channel the way that you do. I really appreciate it. I know this was quite long for the evening. And Dr. Fish, I think Dr. Fish was here. Solavi is here. Thank you so much for coming in, Solavi. And also the Rapper 10,000, thank you so much for coming in. And it looks like my stripes are a little bit messed up here. We'll see what's going on there. What else do we have? AZ Infidel, thank you so much for coming in and supporting the channel and all that you do. Information Man Show, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. I'm a little bit laggy. And Alex Bleeping Jones, thank you so much for coming in. And make sure I didn't miss anybody because I'm going backwards. Studi was here. I haven't seen Studi in a long time. Thank you, Studi, for coming in. Nice to see you. I had to make sure I didn't miss anybody. If I missed you, you can just put a 1 in the stream. And Anarchy Television. Some of you guys have a way of kind of sneaking in, and then you kind of get by me like that. But I appreciate it. And yeah, Dr. Fish, I hadn't seen you in a long time. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate you guys. So, and also, if you haven't had a chance to hit the like button, of course, you'll have an opportunity to do that. We are just a few seconds from closing out the stream. And as always, I want to thank you guys for all that you do and for your patience today. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching earlier today. And of course, I look forward to see you guys on the next live stream in the comment section on a video, a night queue, a moonlight stream, some random outdoor stream, which I thought it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun. Yeah, because it was just nice to be in a different environment. And AZ says, I'm not lagging on your end. Okay, thank you. It's probably my ISP, which they're kind of crappy. Okay. I've tried to explain that to them in the nicest way. And it's just not quite picking up. All right. Let me read a couple more comments and then we're going to say salute. AZ says, the thing about freedom of thought, especially on the right, is that everyone comes from a different perspective. There is no monolithic right-wing ideology as there is on the left. Interesting. And the Rapper says, and there are conservatives who don't believe that there are agendas here, like the peas in Hollywood. I guess I better come up with another term for that. That's gonna be a touchy subject. I predict that. All right, guys. I thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. And we're going to be saying salud and so long on your Tuesday/Wednesday. I know it's Wednesday. So for all of you that have been hanging in here for the entire time, I really appreciate it. And we're going to be saying so long. It looks like I'm pretty frozen right now. It seems like I'm lagging right now. So yeah, I think I am pretty laggy, pretty stuck right now. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you around. Yeah, I think we're lagging more than usual right about now. So. Incredible lag, but thanks so much, guys. Have a great evening/morning.